there, everybody.
Yeah, and I can hear the music.
You guys happy? You guys happy to be here today? Um, so I want to.
J-Man!
Hey, I want to point out real quick though that
What's
that
going on?
theme music that I just played was written by our good friend and performed by our good friend Eric DeBroche. Last week we were joking around with him about
Woohoo!
writing a theme song for us, and a couple days later he sent it to me. So that guy can get things done in a hurry if you need it. Anybody need some music? Go to Eric.
He certainly delivered.
Definitely. Fabio, man, how you been?
Not too bad, not too bad. It seems like so long ago that we've been speaking, and it was actually like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So
we took
good,
a
my
15-minute break.
What about you?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I've got like some news around here. Not probably really interesting to everybody, but I know it's interesting to you that we looked at a new dog. We looked at a dog today. We're going to get a dog tomorrow. We're going to pick it up, which is pretty exciting. I haven't had a dog in a long time, so the kids are excited.
And this is beautiful.
I know. I knew you would like it. I know you'd be happy about that. So
dogs are the best.
So, we were looking around like we usually do during the week for new things that have been happening. There really wasn't that much going on new this week. I think everything's kind of slow at the moment. So we don't have any like new things to show you today. So instead, I'm going to bring on our guest for today. We're very happy to have him. It's Andrei Dolnikov.
Wait, Jason.
Yeah,
Jason,
sorry.
Jason, before you move forward with Andrei, are you really sure that you don't want to discuss those trolleys with wheels and steering wheel that you can drive through the airport?
I knew you were gonna bring that up. Do you have a video?
So it's a no. No, I don't.
Okay. No, let's bring Andrei on. I think let's get started to chat with him. We've got some people here waiting, and I'm sure they're excited to see what Andrei has to say. So welcome, Andrei. You're on
Hey guys.
the air. You're live.
Oh, this is exciting. This is one of my
Andrei,
top 3
what's
favorite
up, my man?
video. What's up, Fabio? This is one of my top 3 favorite 1 a.m. in the morning video talk shows about ArcViz. So
wow.
I can't explain.
The least archivist show that you'll ever attend.
I'm besides myself with excitement to be here.
It's an honor and a privilege, man, to have you on the show.
I'm sure it is for you. Yes.
No, for me as well.
That's a little joke.
that makes 2 of us.
I'm really happy to be here, guys. It's good fun, and it's 1 a.m. and as you know, I just took a shower, so I'm like squeaky clean and all dressed up just for you guys. So I'm pumped. My whole family's awake. In fact, hiding behind the door right now.
They're waiting.
Are they really?
To pounce.
Yeah, basically no one's going to sleep until this is finished. none of my 4 kids. Tomorrow is an absolute write-off. Basically ruined my Friday. So thanks very much for that, guys.
Oh man, that is a responsibility. I have to say.
Yeah, today in Austria is actually a holiday. So like most people get off Thursday and Friday. So we're pretty relaxed around here this weekend.
But that's how committed we are. We're still doing the show even though it's a holiday.
Work on holidays. Please don't tell any of my clients.
Amazing.
We only do it for the fun stuff.
That's fine.
Yeah, nobody wants us to work on holidays. Yeah. Weekends, holidays.
So
this is
Andrei.
Yeah.
It is a little bit of a tradition for the people that come to the Overload show to do a small lighting round to sort of like breaking the ice a little bit. And we have prepared 5 questions for you. It's a one or the other question. You should not spend a lot of time thinking about them. Just go with one answer or the other. 5 answers, 5 questions. It should be pretty fast. Are you ready?
Mate, I'm never going to be more ready than right now.
All right, Andrei. So 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Black or white?
White.
Glass half full or glass half empty?
Definitely half full.
Sparkling water or natural?
Lots of bubbles.
Bare feet or flip-flops?
What was the first option?
Bare feet or flip-flops?
Depends if I have calluses.
It's either one or the other.
Just take it or leave it. Move on. Next question. Let's go. There's no...
Back to the Future or The Goonies?
Back to the Future.
All right, and we're done. Congratulations, man. Here's the... No, there is no prize.
We think it's a
Are
good
we
little
ready to get the
icebreaker
conversation?
that people can get like a quick idea about how somebody's thinking a little bit.
That really tells you everything you need to know about me, those 5 questions. You guys just nailed it there.
Okay,
Totally.
thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Actually, the first question that I wanted to ask you, it's specifically that. Like, what is the one thing that people definitely don't know about you, but they should know?
And that's a good question. That they don't know, but they should know. They don't know that they should know. I mean, considering I'm not at all a well-known person, people don't know anything about me. But I think, well, people don't know what I'm into outside of work all that much. But you know, I kind of.
What are you into?
I'm into like a lot of things, which I will name presently, but like only a little bit. I'm bad at letting go of past hobbies or interests. I'm very into, well, as far as like, you know, music, I'm into jazz. Like I'm a tragic jazz fan. So every time I go to New York, I just pretend to go for work. I'm really there to see music. You know, like I try to read as much as I can, fiction. Actually, maybe one thing, people may think I read a lot of business books, but I really don't anymore. At least I stopped. I'm done in that department. I'm reading Moby Dick right now by Herman Melville. So you know, I need to be learning. That's, I guess, my thing that I'm trying to do in different parts of my life. And I just mean like, you know, I don't know, things that stimulate the old brain. That's kind of a big driver for me in everything I do. Do people know that? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But that's kind of a bit of a theme for how I try to approach things.
Moby Dick, that's kind of like a weird pick. What made you choose Moby Dick?
Well, it's like, I mean, it's supposed to be the greatest American novel, and I've never read it. That's simply put that way. It's like I don't know, it's just written just so beautifully. The guy, the author himself, was just quite a mysterious character who died in obscurity, who people didn't like. He didn't become famous. It became the great American novel like decades after his passing. Just the whole thing, how it's written, I don't know. It's also just, it's very long, so it's like an epic struggle just to read it. Like it takes commitment. I don't know, just immersing myself in, there's no reason. You read it because it's like art for art's sake. You read it because you want to consume the art, because there's no outcome. It's just it's a good way to spend that little part of my life, which I'll never get back because I'm going to die eventually. Like, I mean, not now, but like eventually.
I had no idea about this.
Death anxiety? death
I don't have it yet, but I guess it's gonna come pretty soon, right, Jason? What about you? Are you?
Why? Because I'm older.
Well, they say that.
Yeah.
They say that you should, it's actually healthy to have it because it means you live life on a higher plane. Because really, and not, I'm not saying I do this, but I read about it and want to do this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Understand.
I'm impatient.
Yeah.
And always know, and also paranoid. So.
Yeah, I think I don't have. I wouldn't say I have death anxiety exactly, but there's something's happening to me these days as I've gotten older that didn't used to happen to me, where I will wake up in the night or in the morning early, and I'll be like terrified, and I don't know what it is. I don't know why, and then I'm thinking, was it because I'm like, it's like something I've been dreaming something. I don't remember my dreams normally, so something I've been dreaming. I don't know what it is, and I'll wake up and be like, "What? Oh man, where am I?" Oh, so I'm completely out of it. I guess because I don't really consciously have any anxiety usually, but maybe that's what that is. It's like coming in the night while I'm sleeping, which is weird as well.
Well, I think. Well, I don't know. I just hit 40, and it's like, it's a good. You're right. And I'm in the middle of I'm in the middle of life now. I'm not in the beginning. Hopefully not at the end, but I'm definitely in the middle. And I just feel like you got to make it count. You can't live for the future. You have to have a certain, and that is, my wife's a psychotherapist, and so she has a lot of literature around like existential psychology and different, authors that talk about like existentialism. And one of the tenets kind of is that coming to grips with the fact that time is inevitably passing is actually a way to like elevate what you do with that time. So I don't mean death anxiety and like, oh, I'm gonna die, like, thing. It's more just like, I don't know, kind of sense of urgency, but also not necessarily trying to get somewhere. It's like you'll never get somewhere or there or where. It's like, can you live today? I know this is going to sound like some sort of cliche, but like, I don't know. Are you happy with how that day went? Did you were you just chasing something that's going to lead to something else or something else or something else you'll never get? Or were you just living like the reality of your life now and doing that in a deep way with the right people around you, with the right books around you, with the right art around you, with the right sense of spiritual nourishment? Again, I'm not saying like I do this every day. I'm a complete moron most of the time, but that's like how I would like to be.
Good. That sounds like me too.
It makes total sense.
It
makes total sense.
I agree too. Yeah. It's like this. It's the idea of like death is not like it's not like you're afraid of that specifically. It's just it's gonna come. And I think about that more often as well these days. I did not think about it 10 years ago, maybe, Now I think about it. I'm 45, and I start thinking about it. I'm like, okay, really, today, what did I do? And I mean, is this really is this like, did I do what I want to do today, or did I do something that I wasted my time, or even with the family and my wife and everything else? So it's definitely something that I think about now that I didn't think about before.
Yeah, I heard a good way of looking at it. Like, you have experiences that nourish you or experiences that drain you, and you try to maximize on the nourishing variety and minimize on the draining ones. I mean, they both happen every day, and sometimes you go a whole day and you're like, just like, done. But I don't know, and it's not really necessarily even exactly the content. It's the character, be it in the kind of more nourishing side or more draining side, and try to.
Andrei, do you spend a lot of time thinking about this kind of stuff? Because like I do myself. I'm a very introspective person, meaning that I spend a lot of time thinking about the way I behave with other people, the way I behave, towards my wife, the way I behave towards my clients, the people that get involved with me business-wise. Do you do the same? Do you put yourself under the microscope all the time to kind of make a sense of the way you're living your life?
Absolutely. I'm like a very in my head, sometimes to the good, sometimes to the bad. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm like, to be empathetic to other people and to really like see the consciousness of another person, how I'm affecting them. I don't know necessarily if that comes naturally to me, to be honest. I work on it. My wife, if she were here, would probably like kick me, saying, "Yeah, right. No, you don't." But I do try. It's to that point that you said. I wouldn't say that describes me, but thinking about like, what does it all mean? Where is it all going? Kind of trying to kind of see a little bit of a deeper plane in the life that you lead and the activities that you engage in, and in the relationships that you have. That definitely haunts me all the time. Like, it really, really bothers me if I feel I'm like wasting my time, sometimes to a fault. I'll be honest. Sometimes we have guests for like Shabbat, and basically my wife thinks I'm a little bit like Larry David, in Curb. And I wouldn't, my nickname, this is not gonna reflect well on me, but I'll tell you, this is a candid kind of television show, right? So in high school, my nickname was Costanza, after George, and this was not a compliment. It was not a compliment. So obviously I've just extended it to a whole other level where my wife just now calls me, that's a bit, I'll like say something or do something and she goes like, "Is that a bit Curb?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I just channeled Larry just then." And I'm doing it because I'm trying to cut through the BS, but it can sometimes be a little bit weird, and my children are constantly embarrassed by me, by just like, yeah, I don't know, like if I have guests at my place and I just cannot get into the conversation or just do not find them interesting enough, I'll go lie down on the couch, and then I will be a pariah in my family, the black sheep of my family for a week. And they'll go like, "You can't do that. That's not nice." And I'm like, "Invite better guests. Sorry, I can't. I can't sit for 3 hours and talk about inane things. I can't do it. Jerry, I can't do it. No."
Yeah, I think I appreciate that you are able to like follow through on it, because I always, everybody has like a vision of it sometimes. You're sitting there talking to someone, you think, "Oh God, I just want to walk away." But you're smiling at, yeah.
That's another thing. Getting a bit older, I'm like, not trying to impress anybody. That's why I'm actually loving, I mean, with all empathy and respect to so many people that are having it tough, being at home, not having to see anybody, talk to anybody unless I want to, has been, I just love it. I absolutely love this. I don't know, I'm going to get booted off, kicked out of society for saying this, but I just love this thing to bits. Meaning my own being in this room, which I used to never go. There's like a room in the front of my house, actually has a nice view to the street. We just had like spare furniture in here, and literally almost I never went in here. And now I spend 23 hours a day in here.
Yeah.
And it's my whatever you want to call it, my special place, my safe space.
Fortress of solitude.
Yeah.
So Andrei, okay, would you mind give me an example of one of those things that happened, and the way you behaved, you were like, damn, I wish I did not do that, or I wish I did not say that, and it really made you consider the way you act in certain situations? Like maybe the most recent episode.
Well,
you see, the problem is that when you cannot remember.
Yeah, they're just everywhere all the time. There's too many to name. Let me think. A recent faux pas. Is that what you want? Okay, fine. I'll go. I told you can ask anything, so I have to stay true to my word.
Listen.
No.
If
Just
that's
let me work one out.
embarrassing, I don't want to put you in that situation.
No, please. I cannot be more embarrassed than I already am. Like, it's fine. Most recent, I did. Okay. A father of one of my kids' friends. So the father of my son's friend, another parent, a fellow parent in the kid class. I had to call them about something and ask them the question. And in lieu of an answer, they broke into telling me a story, like a bit of a moralistic fable. And I'm like, oh dear, I knew this was going for like 3 minutes. I just go mute myself, put the phone down, and just went about my business. And my kids saw this, like, what? I'm like, I don't want to hear the story right now. I didn't ask for the story. I don't want to hear the story. I'm not listening to the story. And like 2 minutes later, I pick up the phone. I go, put it down. When did some other things. Like 5 minutes later, he finished the story. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll pick that thing up later. And yeah, good to see you. Good chat. Like, yeah, awesome. Bye. And literally, my 2 older teenage kids are just looking at me, going, "You're a terrible person." So But I see as far as I think it's a win-win. He got to tell the story he wanted to tell. He really wanted to share that story. I got to not have my time wasted and did some dishes. I was doing something productive. The family benefited. I think everyone's a winner. I just don't see any negatives to this whole story. But my 14-year-old daughter and 13-year-old son do not share that opinion. But that's a true story.
Does that?
All right, but this is not something that you go back and regret, right? You're like, I'll do it again.
As a badge of honor, I'm so happy I did that. I can't believe that worked. It's fantastic. It's one of my highlights. It was a highlight, absolutely. You said something I regret. Well, I regret. I don't know. Regret.
I regret not doing it earlier.
Yeah, I regret not texting that guy. I should have just texted him. Why did I waste my phone call? I don't know. I'm rummaging through the garage, and I'm doing a lot of decluttering. And that's another thing. I basically used to come home at 7. I used to say 6:30, but my wife will never. Okay, 7, exhausted, walk into the house like, feed me. That was me, and like I didn't even like notice what the house. And now I'm here all the time. I'm like decluttering, reorganizing. So I did this whole thing in the garage, etc. And then like there was a bit that I wanted my wife to do. And I said, can you do this? I need you to do that bit because it's your stuff and I need you to rearrange it. And for probably very good reasons, she did not for a while. And I'm like, come on, please. And I kept hassling her about it. And then she eventually just like goes, just, I'm going to do it. Stop asking me. And I felt like a bit of an idiot, like just because like my plan, I definitely have that problem that I need to I definitely am aware of this, but like, it's like my plan and I need my plan to work. And sometimes, you got to just accept the fact that a very large proportion of your plans will not work out, and you can't assume other people will do things in the way you envisioned, and you have to be in a place of peace with that, and you'll just be a much nicer person, and you'll be happier, and people will be happy around you. So that's definitely an area that I'm kind of working on myself, with some success, some not success, whatever.
That's a tough one.
That I'm not proud of.
That is a tough one, yeah. How
much does this therapy session cost to me, by the way?
It's like it goes both ways, We can unload as well a little bit here. But
I think that in my case it helps me realizing that I'm not the only maniac in this industry.
I mean, I don't even have that much responsibility, but I'm such a control freak with things. My wife is constantly rolling her eyes at me about it because I'm always like, I want things to be done like the way I think they should be done, like always. And that's a problem, because it's not good for the kids either, and sometimes, and certain things. So it is also this. I try to work on this too, to be more open to let other people do things,
Yeah, well, I've kind of programmed my brain to operate in a particular way, having built and run my business for 10 years. And that way of doing things and that kind of orientation is not necessarily effective or productive or happiness creating in the family context. And I'm kind of like just realizing it now, 15 years into my marriage. Like, oh my God, well, no one ever told me. And Miriam's like, oh my God, I have been trying to tell you 15 years. I'm like, really? I should just, just a normal moron like the rest of us. Like, I'm just getting my head around that a little bit, just a tiny bit. Like, because your family is not your team. They're not, I don't know, you don't have to achieve things all the time in your family. You just have to be, and you just have to have fun together, and you just have to like chill. And I'm definitely, because I'm so wound up in the business side of things, it takes time. It's a big effort for me to de like reprogram my way of thinking. Like, I'm highly task orientated at work, tasks and checklists, and but I'm actually highly organized in my own special way. But like, and I get a huge amount of work done every day. But you bring that into the home, it's not about getting things done. It's about being. It's about creating a certain atmosphere. And I'm almost like literally, I'm just now starting to realize that's actually the main thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Waking up.
I have a question. That probably it's gonna sound stupid, but like, I grew up within a very liberal context, right? My parents were very liberal. We were more or less like allowed to do everything that we wanted, and there wasn't really any rule inside our house other than my dad arbitrarily getting mad at either me, my sister, my brother, just like when we were screwing up. In your case, I know that you also serve as a rabbi for your community, right? Religion is a big part of your life.
Yeah.
Within the context of your family, how much does religion help for you to keep a structured life? Are there things that you say, thank God that we're a religious family because this works better, as in families which are a little bit more liberal or that don't really practice any religion?
Well, okay, there's a few bits to that. Firstly, absolutely yes, like just as a very basic example. So, I mean, you live in Israel, you know what Shabbat is like. So like, we are, hardcore when the sun sets beyond the horizon in the west, in the west. We, like, all devices have already been switched off. We're in Shabbat mode. No devices, no TV, we don't have TV, but no screens, no phones, no nothing, no cars. It's just complete switch off, complete technology detox every week. And there's also festivals, which we have a lot of festivals. Every other week there seems to be a festival. And that, the level of, like, the way that's baked into the rhythm of our life is so deep that like, without that, I can't even imagine, and it's a reset. It's like, we all come down Friday night, we come down to the living room. Everyone's kind of, some people are just like, oh, only half dressed, and like, what's going on? It's chaos. No, I'm not saying it's like this, like, no, it can be very wild and woolly as well. But like, we get together and we just spend 25 hours together in one way or another. It's funny, in COVID times, because there's no synagogue to go to, the synagogues are all closed. So we're literally 25 hours together. Usually, you go to the synagogue, you come back, this thing. So that itself, like, I remember we had these, when we were living in Sydney, we had neighbors who had matching age kids to us, and they're across the road, and we would hang out. They were not religious. Actually, we're Jewish, but not religious. And we just hang out with some of them, invite them over. And one, like, Friday afternoon, the kids came over to our house right as Shabbat came in. and they're like, and they literally like looked around. We were just like sitting around, I don't know, doing nothing. And they're like, wow, what's happening? Why is it so peaceful? We're like, it's peaceful? What? But they literally palpably felt like a certain energy. And I think we do take it for granted to some extent, but it's so, so important to make sure that, like, you know, we're able to always have that returning kind of like a time for being and not doing every single week. Now, that's probably the biggest feature, I would say, to be honest. Now, there's lots of other rules.
I love how you.
The feature, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I love how you
mean like a feature, like a okay, but still, let's go with that. Then there's lots of other things, but they are, I mean, I have to be honest, they are things that we just live with. They're not like an effort, and they don't like, you know, we eat only kosher food, so therefore we only eat at certain restaurants and only buy certain food, and it's like just part and parcel of our life. Is that something we think about? Like I do remember, I think it's definitely helps my children have a degree of self-discipline, which I think is so important in this kind of completely anything goes world. And we're not super, like, we're pretty chill, like, you know, we're showing them, you know, weird Al Yankovic videos, and like, you know, giggle, and like, we're not trying to completely shut them off from contemporary culture. I wouldn't say that, but like, you know, with kosher food, they'd go to a party. I mean, I remember when they're like little kids, like 3 and 4 years old, the older ones, and we go to a party, and they knew these people did not keep kosher, so they know you can't eat any of the food, and there was delicious sweets and cakes everywhere. And these 3 and 4 year old kids, we didn't have to go, don't eat. They just knew. They just didn't touch it. Didn't even ask. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. You know, they get it. So that's part of our values. That's part of that's part of defining who we are as a family, who we are as a people, you know, and it gives a lot of meaning to our life. You know, sometimes we take it for granted, but it's definitely like, can't live without it for us.
So I have a continuation, the question, or not a question, but like a comment. Maybe you can comment on that as well. That, you know, a lot of times religious is in certain parts of the world, maybe religious things are seen as they can be a negative, and like let's say not a negative, but um, that people will sometimes use you know, using religion to like shut other people out. But I know that's not the case with you, because you have a business with a lot of people and the way that you run it and everything else. Do you think it's like the opposite, actually, that because of your values that you can appreciate, and that other people have other values, and that everything is working that way in a better way, like with the whole team and like all the people you have working for you?
Well, I don't know if it's to do with religion. I think that what you've described there is more to do with my background.
Yeah.
The fact that kind of like, compared to the larger world, I've got a bit of a oddball kind of, you know, history. I'm like a Russian Jewish Hasidic guy, first generation immigrant. Like, I definitely don't fit in anywhere. Like, I speak 3 to 4 languages, but each one with an accent.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, like, I'm not at home. I'm not like the garden variety human being in any place I go. In Israel, I'm too American, or to Australian. Australia, I'm too American. In America, I'm too Australian. Like, so I just generally have this like, so therefore I'm very open to people with their own kind of completely unique stories. So it just doesn't, it's not like I couldn't, even if I wanted to, I couldn't go out and like recruit a bunch of copies of myself, because I'm just so unique and so special. And you know, so therefore it was always like, well, you know, if what it doesn't matter where you are, how old you are, what you look like, where you're from, you know, if you know, if I'm here, you can certainly be here, you know,
I totally
and that's the
understand.
way it's kind of developed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's but religion, I mean, obviously, yes. Then there's actually like, what does my religion teach me about how to treat people? Of
Of course. Yeah.
course, that's a major feature. Like, my particular strand within Judaism is particularly focused on kind of like a positive view of the world. That's definitely one of the things. I did not grow up religious. I grew up Soviet atheist. I grew up in the Soviet Union. You know, I did not go into a synagogue until I
What
arrived in
made you
Australia at age
switch?
10.
What made you
I
switch?
saw the light. Hallelujah. No,
That's where I'm from. Where you
uh,
do it? That's where I'm from. The South in the U.S.
I know. Yeah, South. Yeah, I was in Alabama, and yeah, oh Lord. Okay, that's a separate question. I hadn't finished my other question yet, Fabio. Don't ask me another
Sorry.
question while I'm in the middle of the first question.
You know what? I'm gonna put down the phone, say yeah a couple of times, and then come back in 10 minutes.
That's what you should do. Yeah, you should
Turn the camera
pre-record
off.
both of you going, I know, man. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
you could just do the whole hour, and in the meantime, you could do the dishes. I hope this guy doesn't see that. He won't guess who I'm talking about. Anyway, the question. So, okay, I was in the middle of the other thing. I was really going to go deep, and then you broke my flow, and now I'm going to go deep in another. Okay, I'll go back to the question. I'll tell them how did I come up? How did I become religious? I'll get to that shortly. But more like definitely, you know, an idea that even like our look at technology. So within the Chabad Hasidic group, which is I'm a part of, which is like a strand within a strand of whatever. To you look it up, Google it, Chabad. Like the attitude is technology is there to bring a positive impact on the world, right? Everything in the world has potential to drag you down or to lift you up or to lift other people up. It's all about how you use it. Like almost everything, obviously, right? But and that's my outlook. Also, like if I can, so for me, you know, the idea that going back to what we were talking about earlier, the idea that things happen for a reason, right? Things and I've seen this just time and time again, the way kind of events, things that you think are negative turn out to be huge positives, and just the way that there's seemingly, you know, a bigger game at play and you're just a feature of it, and kind of like letting yourself flow with that. That's something I believe, that's something I live with in my life, and I try to impart that in some way. I definitely do not preach. I mean, hopefully, I don't know, I'm sure someone in my team will say I do, but I try not to, certainly from a Jewish perspective. Like what I'll write like a Rosh Hashanah New Year's message to my team, but I don't make it about like a sermon. It's like going, you know, it's a time for renewal. I try to make it very, very universal. But yes, I'm a person both in my community and out of my community and in my team. I hope I can make some kind of difference. Like I hope I can make people's lives better in some way through what I do, even though I'm just running a business. So if that means, you know, somehow, be it by example or by exposing people to, you know, ways of thinking that aren't just materialistic, that to me is a big, like, I don't want to think I did this business I've done that for 10 years. Who knows? I'll do it for another 10 years, however, and go, what did I get out of it? I made a gazillion renderings and I hired people and I did this and did that. But at the end of the day, like, what do you have to show for it? And actually, people, if you be able to somehow enhance people's lives and make them, like, I don't know, live life on a slightly higher plane, that I get a big sense of satisfaction from that. So that's kind of flowing out of the way my religion teaches me to live, and then I try to filter it out into the world, although in a more universal way, not necessarily in a Judaism way. And to your question of how did I become religious? I mean, it was all kind of together. I mean, I kind of arrived in Australia. I was 10, you know, the first 2-3 years just playing video games and being an idiot, as any, you know, preteen was. And then, like, kind of when I started, I have a friend who gave me, I think for my 14th birthday, he gave me The Trial by Franz Kafka. I think he gave me On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and I think like the stories of Rabbi Nachman from Breslov. If you look that up, it's like this trippy rabbi that has these like metaphorical, allegorical stories that they all sound like they're, you know, he's tripping out of his head. He wasn't, by the way, but well, actually, I don't know, maybe he was. He lived in the 18th century, and it was literally like when I started to read that, it was like a switch, like, whoa, okay, I just kind of lifted up my head from the video games and started reading and thinking, and I was like into Eastern meditation for a while, and just like everything, just consuming, also consuming, but consuming knowledge, and other things. And so that was, and then I kind of like through a series of interesting events, I came upon someone teaching Jewish mysticism. And it was like, all I'd ever known about Judaism was like, don't do that, and guilt trips, and I don't know, whatever the cliches people sometimes think out there. I never really learned it in an authentic way. And then someone taught me about like the soul and, kind of more the spiritual side of how you live and how you be and what's happening in your spiritual psyche. And that kind of flowed from all the other intellectual and spiritual things I was into. It led me into my own faith, which I was always born with. I just didn't know about it. And then I just went deep. So I did a couple of years of university. I studied at College of Fine Arts in Sydney. And then I go, like, if I don't go to Israel, I'd always like go, I want to go to Israel and really immerse myself full time. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. And so I dropped everything and basically went to Israel for like 6 years to become like the Jewish version of a Buddhist monk or something. I didn't have a phone or money, or it was just complete, like, just off the planet. But it was like just an incredible time. I went pretty deep. Try now to sort of remember those times, but it's hard when you're
is there a name for it?
Man.
Is there a name for it, to be like a Buddhist monk in the Jewish tradition? Like, is there something
I don't
like
have the
that?
same sense, but I became like a Hasidic Jew, which is a particular strand.
Yeah,
that's more focused.
I read on a T-shirt in Jerusalem, Super Jew.
Super Jew, yeah.
Super Jew.
That's me, baby.
That works. That's it, baby.
I'm super.
But anyway, it was so cool to catch up with you in Jerusalem, actually, when you came to visit the last time. Nobody would have expected the world to come down to this situation and have to cancel all of our plans, and because we wanted you to speak in Tel Aviv. It's freaking crazy, but hey, what can I say? There is actually somebody watching from Israel. They say, hey, from Israel. Hi, welcome to our channel.
Hi there, I cannot read Hebrew, so I cannot tell the name. The name is also written in Hebrew, so.
So, Andrei, you know that we do a little bit of research before interviewing our guests, and we ask around for questions that people would like our guests to answer. And so there are these two sides to the Binyan coin or medal, if you like. And one side is this side where Binyan is a place where a lot of artists want to work. You have a lot of artists that work with you. You invest a lot of time and money in the development of these artists. They get to work on incredible projects. They get paid very well, at least that's what they told me. And there is also this community feel in your company that, in a way, people belong to Binyan, and there is that feeling of like belonging, which I think it's great, and it's very difficult nowadays to achieve in a company. And then there is the other side of the medal, which is the business side of Binyan, if you like, where you guys are known to be, do you want to put it, very aggressive when it comes in to the way you acquire talents to work for you, or sometimes, pulling them away from their current employers, if you like, or the way that you enter markets. I've heard some people complaining to me that you even slashed prices by half, just to win over your competitors. These, in turn, could have damaged the market of visualization. Now, the question that I have for you, how much of this is speculation? Because, it's understandable when a company like yours is so big and successful, maybe some of this is just rumors, it's just envy. But how much of this is your actual strategy? And if you could be a little bit more specific, about your strategy. What is your strategy running your company and doing business and creating business for yourself? And I hope that this is not too bad of a question to ask you.
No, not at all. I'll be like the, Israeli diplomats about the nuclear program. We neither confirm nor deny the existence of nuclear weapon. No, we neither confirm or deny. Okay, well, I'll go to the second question. Oh my God, the second one I think is such a load of baloney about the slashing of prices. I mean, that's completely. I mean, it's just nonsense. If anything, interesting. You had Norm. I listened to Norm's interview, which I thought was fantastic, very candid and very honest. You guys went to some pretty awesome places. I shared it with my team. It was so good. I know I've never met the guy, but I definitely gained a lot of respect.
He's an amazing
for him.
person.
Just amazing guy. And you may recall, I know he was talking about when we went into Canada, we raised the prices in Canada by 50%. Do you know that? That's a fact. You know how he said, well, you know how he said, and he probably will maybe, you know what, I believe. I remember going into Canada and I was there going sort of, so to speak, door to door, meeting clients and going, we do renders, they're pretty good, want to work with us. And like, how much? I'm like, 4,000 American, 5,000 US, 6. That's what we were getting. We were getting 6, 7 in New York at that time. We don't anymore, by the way. And it's not because we're the ones lowering the prices. Our first year in New York, we were averaging 7,000 US per image. And I was like, I'm getting a yacht. I'm getting, and did not get the yacht. So, and in Canada, they were like, oh, I love your work, honey, but we pay 3,000 Canadian. I'm like, and it was like, okay, this might not be worth it. But we did win one job, and that job was 5,000 US. Then we won another, and won another, and won another. And I'm glad to hear that Norm has raised his prices by 50% because that's become much closer to the going rate, getting paid what they deserve. That's one market. Now, okay, I'll be honest, when we went into the US and did the same thing, and I have a very deep network that I developed for many, many years. And I'm like, what's the render price? And they're like, oh, when you use, such and such company, they charge 8,000-9,000 US. I'm like, okay, trying to pull a straight face of, 9,000. In my mind, I'm going, that's 4 times what we get paid in Australia at the time, or whatever the exchange rate, or not 4, I don't know, a lot more. So I'm like, okay, we can do a bit better than that. And so, we did that. And it was, the fact that there's one outlier that charges a lot, and kudos to them that they do because of the brand they develop, and it's amazing. But our first, like I said, our first year there, we were charging 6 to 7. And it has not lasted because so many other players have come in, lowered the prices, and we've had to come down. That's just the fact. I can, so whatever. Like, people say that, it's just, we do not, anyway, it's, first of all, it's business, and one of the reasons people appoint is because of price. So of course you have to be flexible here and there, but I assure you that is not the centerpiece of our strategy. In fact, we want to be the most expensive company in the world. That is actually what we want. That is not our strategy, but that should be a outcome of the kind of way we want to position our business, being more than just an archivist firm, being the go-to globally for the most important complex projects that others couldn't dream of handling. That's what Binyan is aspiring to be, let's just say. And that definitely, being expensive is very, very important. Can you always achieve it? Well, it's market driven. I'll tell you, in Australia, I'm not complaining. I mean, it's just that's part of life. But how many people have left Binyan or Flood Slicer and have started their own business, probably seems like every year another 7 companies pop up that essentially go to people, go, I can do what they're doing. I just do it for you for $2,000 less. That has not helped. When I started my business in Australia, I used to raise my prices $500 a year. Easy. I would do it. I even do it. I do it twice a year because it's calendar year and tax year. I'm like, hey, it's new financial year, higher prices. Da, 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 da. It was like just so easy, honestly. And then last 2 years, our prices have gone down, and it's not because we wanted that to happen. It's just the market, but that's market economics. That's market forces. I'm not complaining. You gotta run your business and keep adjusting. So that's on the pricing side. I think there's very little truth to that. It's something people say, but they can say what they want. I know the truth, and it doesn't bother me. On the other question of what was the other question? Like recruitment? Well, I don't know, man. Like good people typically aren't sitting around on the beach unemployed, last I checked. So you offer people opportunities to progress in their career. If it's good for us and it's good for that individual, that's my main, priority. The fact that the company that they're at, either they've reached the glass ceiling, or they have not treated them well enough, or they have not paid them well enough, or they haven't given them enough opportunities, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And it goes both ways. I mean, please, you think people don't leave me to go to other companies because people have approached them? I've seen, no names mentioned, people literally post ads designed without saying that. The ad could almost say like this: seeking, I'm going to make up a name, Jerry Jimbo, who works at Binyan, who makes this much money, who wants to do this, come to work at such and such. It's that specific, headhunting people at my company. Okay, so I just think it's a certain, like, and I know some people are adamant against it. I will say, it's ironic that the same people that make claims about we should not hire each other's people make their staff sign contracts. And I've seen with my bare eyes, and it actually really pisses me off that they make people sign a contract. You shall not, if you work at my company, you cannot work at, and it was actually flattering who the other companies were, at Binyan, I think it was Visual House, and at WeWork. I'm like, cool, I'm in the same thing as WeWork. I was actually like, yes, we've made it. People are.
They have non-competes?
And I know this. I have several people. It's much more than we all have non-competes. Non-competes mean.
No, I mean,
non-competes mean I work for you, and I then go make my own little shop on the side.
Yeah.
I leave you and take your clients. That's non-compete. Or I go and hire people from you. Non-compete is completely normal, and that's we enforce our non-competes as well.
I mean,
what people do, certain companies, what they do is they prevent people from pursuing their career at certain companies simply it's a non-competitive practice, and that's, I think, highly unethical.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like a non-compete agreement.
Put that in your pipe and smoke.
I think, but what you're saying is it's a non-compete agreement with just specific companies, basically. Like, you can't work for these companies if you leave us.
But again, yes, but that's not a non-compete. Non-compete is compete.
But that doesn't stand.
No, I understand.
I know
what
it doesn't
you're saying,
stand, but it's intimidatory. I know it doesn't, but you think that rank and file employee is going to go fight Big Boss and knowing that they're going to potentially sue them? And it's an intimidatory tactic. And I can tell you, we do everything, I believe, and this is the way we live in our business. I strongly believe this, and it is not just something I'm saying. You got to work your little butt off to make sure your people want to stay with you by making sure they have career progression, making sure they feel like they belong to something special. Chris just says to me going, "You went there, baby. Oh, baby." He asked, Fabio started it. It's not my fault. The baby do it. No. So,
listen, Andrei, my job is to give a voice to people that understand this industry.
I'm passionate about the topic. Hope you don't. It's 1 a.m. I'm yelling because I'm passionate, but don't worry. Ooh, it says. So, point being, yes, we proactively recruit all the time. 100%. You are correct. we are constantly looking for the best talent in the world to join our team. And I have zero, like, and as does it, and I think everyone does it because it happens to us as well. And the only thing you can do as a company to avoid losing your best people is make sure you look after them well, give them progression, give them opportunity to reach their potential. And also, most people eventually do leave. So that's just a matter of the way of the world. And some companies have done really, really well. So I have, let's say, on LinkedIn, know someone, I say, hey, they have some opportunities, such and such. I go, and that staff member says, I'm really well looked after here. I've got a promotion. I'm a senior, whatever, and they never want to leave. And I know, hundreds, many, many people like that. So many companies do a fantastic job of making their best people like unhireable because they're happy.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. And we should all do. And sometimes if your culture is such that other people, it's easy for other people to hire your staff, maybe you got to look at yourself in the mirror first.
Yes, I know. It's really difficult for a company to build that living entity that exists within a firm, right? Because there are companies that are just companies. You go there, you work, and you get out. And then there are companies that behave almost like if they existed as a person, right? And you can recognize them because people talk about them, and when they talk about it, it almost feels like the people that work in those companies address those companies as if they were talking about their mom or their girlfriends or their boyfriends, their husbands, whatever. And so, I don't know, I think that it's very difficult to do it. Myself, I struggle a lot to try and make my clients understand what it's like to build a company where you feel like you belong. And that's simply because very often people don't understand this thin line that separates a job from something more, something like your company. And I feel confident in saying this because I've been talking to enough of your staff to know that they actually love working for you and love working for your company. Then obviously, I don't know if every time that I talk to them, you're standing behind them with a gun.
No, I'm not. I don't know that they talk to you. I don't. I mean, no, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's an interesting question, and I get it. Like I do get it. I do get the critique, but I just think for me, like I know for those that do enjoy working with us and being part of like the whole family atmosphere and just like a place where you can grow and develop. And I know how many people that have come into my business, entry level or mid level, have become absolute rock stars on the world stage. And I can name you 15 people right now. I can tell you stories for 3 hours. That it's worth it for me because not only has it helped, obviously, yes, my responsibility is to do right by my business. My responsibility is to right by my team. Make sure that when we're going through COVID, we don't have to, lay off masses of people. It's, and we can come back and we have enough work and enough talent to win the best work in the world. And that's my number one responsibility. Now, the fact that some of our rivals sometimes are taken aback by the fact that we've succeeded where they haven't. I'm not sure what I can do about that. I have very positive and collegial relationships with many companies out there. Several of them come to me for mentoring, and I to them. And I would say there's always a few people that maybe don't see eye to eye, and that's okay. I have a live and let live attitude. When someone leaves Binyan, I always do an exit interview. I always say, first thing, what can we learn from doing it? We had a person resign about a week ago. Someone I really, really, really had high hopes for. It broke my heart, I can tell you. But the first thing we did an in-depth exit interview. This person said some very valuable feedback, which we're going to learn from, incorporate, and make sure that improves our company. And I can tell you, every single person. I remember actually, Florian. He's in Vienna. Florian, good
I
friend.
saw
Sorry, Florian,
Florian.
if you're listening. I talked to you
What's his last name?
about
Yeah, Wegener. Yeah.
Wegener. Yeah, so he left. I remember that he was one of the Binyan originals, like, you know, just from the ground up, just awesome guy. Everybody, and then he's like, "I'm leaving. I'm going to Doug and Wolf, who are kind of another company in Sydney, do beautiful work, former Luxagon guys actually, you know, and completely different workflow, everything different about." I'm like, "Flo, but what are you gonna like? Why are you doing it? Well, don't leave us, man." You know, it was like very emotional for me. And he said, "Look, man, I feel like at that time, you know, I'm going to learn something new there that I think I'm not going to be able to learn here," because they were doing more architectural renders and whatever. And it was like that actually clicked in for me. This is years ago now. I'm saying we have to focus on learning and career development, because it was a very startup phase for us. It was just like all hands on deck, just get it done. Come on, like get it done. You know, that was one of those steps where I go, I need to start taking this seriously. And the amount of that was the beginning of a journey to what it is now, where people come to Binyan because they want to grow. And so every person that leaves us and goes to one of our rivals and is I'm not just saying this just to be some sort of, I literally like, I sometimes, yes, I sometimes am heartbroken, and I'm like, take a few, 3 stages of mourning. I'm need to denial, pissed off, and then I'm like, inner peace, what can I learn? And I do, and I encourage the management to do so. And I've been around the block. Sometimes their direct manager will go, "How could this happen? I catch up for coffees with them twice a week and they seem so happy. Why?" I'm like, because remember what they said 2 reviews ago, that they really were passionate about this? Did you give an opportunity to do that? No, because we were busy. I'm like, okay, well, did you hint at that? No, I just said maybe we'll do that. Well, if you say maybe, they think you'll do it, and if you don't stick to it, they will be their happiness level will go down. It's just constant people recruitment, talent retention, talent enhancement, training, development is a constant, never-ending journey, and in some ways a struggle that every company should engage in if you want to be successful. And if you do it from the heart, you go.
I think in today's business, any business, this is the biggest issue that companies have to face. The fact that, we have got to a point where it's really difficult to keep people interested and motivated for such long periods of times. And
today, what used to be 12 years is now 3 years. So if someone stays with you for 3-4 years, you should be happy. It's such a young industry as well. Everyone's a bloody millennial snowflake. So, they're like, I just want to do something. I just thought I haven't got a promotion for like 6 weeks. So I just think I need to explore other opportunities, So, then you've got to roll the eyes and go, okay, mate, off you go. Good luck out there. Whatever, you gotta play to your strengths, know who you are, become confident who you are. In terms of going into markets aggressively, I mean, our vision of our company, you asked me the strategy, I didn't get to that yet. Our vision of company is to become the world's best and leading architectural 3D rendering firm in the broader sense of the word. In other words, widen what that means is that it's not just renders, it's immersive, it's incredible sales center experiences, animation, like all that stuff. And it's really extending what architectural 3D can be. And we want to be doing that in the most kick-ass projects, in the most kick-ass places in the world, with the best architects, the best clients, exciting thing. We want to have a sense of conquest, and we're kicking ass and kind of just, conquering the world. That's part of our spirit. Yes, that means we go different places and we do cool stuff, and we try to, we understand that sit in our box, and that's part of the spirit. And that's I'm not gonna be apologetic for that. And we're ready. Anybody,
don't stop? will you stop at architecture, or are you already thinking of like exploring adjacent industries?
Depends how you define adjacent. I would like for it to spread beyond architecture, if you ask me, but it's not so simple. You know, we are architects. That is our milieu. That's the soup we swim in. It's not just that easy to go, ooh, now we'll do automotive. You know, you need to be car heads to do automotives. We're more architecture heads. So yes, but I think those opportunities will come organically. You know, I don't have the context. I have in real estate and architecture. I know everybody. I can get a meeting with anybody tomorrow. What do I know about? You know, I mean, we look at companies like the Mill as a model, or like was it Media Monks, like companies that are like completely next level content. You know, in any industry, any product. That's kind of the vision. But we don't necessarily say that because we don't like architecture. On the contrary, architecture is our home. That's where we're born, and it's a matter of taking that and elevating that so that it could be more akin to the level of excitement, creativity, storytelling that exists in those other industries, right? So it's learning lessons from these other companies way outside of our industry, but not necessarily leaving this. No, we're not. I don't have, actually, that's one of the things when I'm hiring people, if people are like, oh, archivists is so lame, but that's all I know how to do. Well, don't work in archivists. Don't work for me.
Yeah.
I want people passionate about architecture. They're passionate about a beautiful detail on an interior, or a piece of furniture, a piece of artwork. If you're not passionate about the fundamentals, I don't want, a wannabe failed Hollywood animator that just, okay, I guess I will have to be archivist. No, this has to be your thing. But that thing, make it like reinvented. I bet you that what we're going to be doing in 5 years from now will be very different from what it is now. But there'll still be a link. There'll still be a thread ties it back to the appreciation of beautiful architecture and photography and the fundamentals that make this stuff really a joy.
I'm 100% with you, and I think that the key about what you said is for people not to think that archivist is going to die or that is going to disappear. No, keep fighting, keep in the game, and evolve as things evolve, because that's what a real artist and a real entrepreneur should be doing.
Yeah, you got
Andrei, I'm sorry.
You got to keep on top of it.
Can I say?
We are wildly over time.
I know. So what's the difference? Let me say one more thing just to the last point that you said, if I may. May I?
Yes. Sorry. Yes, absolutely.
Like this industry, no. I know there's struggles. It's actually tough to make a living. It's extremely competitive. I get all that. But everybody's in this industry. We're in the real estate industry. It's like the world's biggest industry. This is a pretty good place to be, okay? Like, you got to embrace it, understand what it is. The thing that our industry is missing is kind of the cachet and sometimes it just has to come with experience. We're not yet at the level of architecture firms that advertise the ages, that have 100 years or hundreds of years, if we call architecture, behind them, that have built up that credibility, the respect, the understanding of the wider community about what it is they do. It'll come. We just got to keep becoming more professional, keep having better standards, better, yes, using, legal software, being accountable and ethical and running our businesses like proper businesses. And yes, not being afraid of competition. Competition is good. If you're in a business where nobody's competing with you, that's probably means it's not a very good business. So that's the direction I'm trying to point and push the industry into. High level of professionalism. Look outside of our industry for inspiration of the kind of next level creative we can produce. Not be so insular, but a little bit look outward, but not outward to escape our industry, but rather to lift it up. And I think it's happening step by step. I see the breakthroughs that not only us, but many other companies do, that we learn from all the time. So I'm actually super pumped about where things are and where they're going with the industry. So I'm not negative at all.
Yeah.
Happy face.
Great. I really appreciate
Sorry,
that.
Thanks for that monologue.
I appreciate that sentiment though, because I think that that's actually what we feel like too. Fabio and I, We're both not working like in production really anymore. I do some things on my own here and there, but our focus is really on the community, and we're really interested in supporting the community in any way that we
Yeah.
can. I really appreciate your sentiment because it's a very positive one.
Yeah, and what you guys are doing, and all the other people that do similar sort of stuff to you guys, I think it's a massive benefit, and like I hope the community supports it because it's so
Yeah,
valuable, and I think
thank you.
we take it for granted to some extent. I was a late adopter, I must say. For years I was like, yeah, whatever, now, but like having attended these events, yours and others, like it's so uplifting, and it's just like it's inspiring, and
So
it's awesome.
we have a great comment
Yeah,
we have a great comment right now. We're gonna have to end on this because it's such a great comment. So Aman from
yeah.
India, he's got a company there. He's also a really great business guy, and he said Andre is basically me with a longer beard. So I just thought you might want to hear that,
And a more
Cool.
Australian accent, I would
Yeah.
say.
Wow,
Yeah.
I've got an evil twin in the subcontinent.
Yeah. Andre, really appreciate
Or
you.
maybe I'm the evil twin.
Really appreciate you, taking the time to talk to us today. It's been a really eye-opening conversation. I appreciate it. I think I can say the same for Fabio. Wouldn't you say, Fabio?
Yeah, I'm nodding.
So thank you for being here, and thank you to everybody out there who's watching. We're going to be back again next week, of course, right here. Eventually, we're going to have to rename this show. It's not going to be Lockdown Livestream Overload. It's going to have to be something else. But at this moment, we're going to keep it. But we look forward to seeing you next week. Put it on your calendar. And Andre, stay right there. We're going to say goodbye to you afterwards. But I'm going to end the stream now. Thank you, everybody. Fabio, thank you for being
Thanks
there
a lot
too.
for watching, guys.
Thanks,
My
guys. It's
pleasure.
really awesome.
Okay, it's over. It's ended.